Hello and welcome to a new video. Today I will be discussing the worst roller coasters I've ever been on. Now in this video we will be going from park to park and look at the worst roller coasters I've been on at them parks. You might not see parks like Efteling or Plopsaland because those theme parks don't have any bad roller coasters. So let's start with the most recent theme park I have been to, and that is Wicksteed Park. And this park only has 3 roller coasters, and one of them isn't the worst, but it's still bad. Dinosaur Valley. This is a Pinfari roller coaster, so it was obviously going to be bad, but it wasn't too bad. I think I heard people say it's one of the worst roller coasters in the UK, but it's not that bad. But it's still really janky. Well, it's not that janky, but it's still janky in some places, and it's uncomfortable for where you sit. It's not the worst roller coaster I've been on, but it's bad. Next, we will go to my favourite theme park, and that is Europa Park. I've got 2 roller coasters at Europa Park I want to talk about. The first one being Poseidon. Now this is one of the first water coasters that I have ever done, and one of the first ones ever made. This is a really well themed roller coaster in the Greece section of the park, but the first half of the ride is really rough and you get jackhammered. It's pretty bad, but it's not as worse than Euromir. And Euromir is the first max spinning coaster that was ever made. It's got a spiral lift hill, but after that little wild mouse section, it goes downhill from there. You get so jackhammered and just your body goes everywhere. Your neck is gonna crack, and it's just so bad after the wild mouse section. And if you've ever seen like any people's reactions, you can just see them just like shaking so much. But these 2 roller coasters I wouldn't say are the worst. These are in the bad to worst category. Euromir is probably bad to worst, but Poseidon's a bad roller coaster, but it's not bad to worst, if you get what I mean. Now we are heading to Pleasurewood Hills. Now this theme park alone needs some work to it, especially these 3 roller coasters that I am going to talk about. And they've only got 4, so only 1 roller coaster just made it off the list. Anyways, the first one I'm going to talk about is Cannibal Express. Now, I've heard that they are going to work with this roller coaster. I mean, they're going to work with Euromir. I think they're going to retrack it or something. But Cannibal Express, I've heard they are going to do something. So hopefully they change the roughness so it's not rough. Maybe new trains from Gershlau, I've heard that. But yeah, this roller coaster is, I think, nearly 50 years old. It was originally at Plopsaland, then it was at some random theme park, and then it's here at Pleasurewood Hills. And oh my lord, it is rough. It's rough. It's nearly 50 years old and you still have it in your park. Just get rid of it, man. You could put something so much more better in there, like a Sierra family coaster or something. It's just, oh my lord, my brain, my ribs. The last helix bit is probably the worst because you just go so fast in that helix bit that literally you are just going all over the place, and it's not a nice experience. It's really not. There are 2 roller coasters that are worse than that in this park, and that is Wipeout. Now, Wipeout, I don't know out of the 2 which one is the worst because they are equally as bad as each other, but Wipeout, you just need to be lucky with Wipeout because wherever you sit, I think it's either the second car or the third car, that's probably the best way to sit. Or maybe the back, I don't know. but I normally go to second to third car, and even second to third cars, sometimes they get a big roughness. Like, when I last went to Pleasurewood Hills, I went the third car, like, the first time, really fine, but then later in the day, I went on the third car, and it was just like, I lost brain cells. How can that happen in a day? Like, what? That's just why. And I need to let Pleasurewood Hills know, because they've got a sister park, Avonton and Park Ellendorn. I've talked about it on the channel, and their old Vekoma has lap bars. Get lap bars on Wipeout, man. On the Cobra roll backwards, you get a really jolt at the end of the Cobra roll backwards. The loop is probably the smoothest part of the ride, and that's the most intense part of the ride anyway, so it doesn't matter. But I don't know if this roller coaster is worse than Wipeout, but Marble Madness is so bad, man. Literally, when I was a kid, I used to love this roller coaster. It was brilliant, but I don't like it now. It's just, your ribs are going all over the place. The brakes are so hard, and you probably most likely would get a bruise once you get off that ride. When I was a kid, I used to always get bruises on this ride because I used to go on it so much. I just don't get how I loved it when I was a kid, but I hate it now. They are putting some care in the ride, so hopefully that gets better. Maybe the brakes are slower, I don't know. But I just hope it's a better ride in the summer. The next park we are going to is Blackpool Pleasure Beach. And now we've got 4 roller coasters that are bad. Well, really 3, because Grand National, it depends where you sit. I only did it once and I didn't get a wheel seat, I don't think. We went front row, so tell me if that's a wheel seat or not. But I didn't think it was that bad. It was still really rough, but it just made it off the list because it was kind of boring a little bit, but I didn't think that was that bad, so that's one off the list. But Steeplechase. Now, I don't know if this is worse than one of the other coasters at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, but Steeplechase, how is that rough? I mean, there's this Dutch YouTuber doing style games, and he thinks it's the 10th best roller coaster that he's ever been on. Like, how? But this roller coaster is janky, just janky. It really is not comfortable whatsoever. Probably the most uncomfortable roller coaster I've been on, and it's just not fun. But one that is also not fun, and I don't know if this is worse or not, is Infusion. And Infusion, you know what I'm going to say. It's an SLC, it's going to be bad. It's the standard SLC layout, it's obviously going to be bad. The rollover, the sidewinder, they were alright, but then everything after that sidewinder is so bad. The 2 hardline rolls, going into the brakes, it's really bad. And the best bit about it is that you're over water, which is really cool. But it's just, why was that a thing? Why is the SLC a thing? I wish they got a B&M invert instead. That would be so better and fit so well at Pleasure Beach. The worst roller coaster at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, though, in my opinion, is definitely Big Dipper. And I could just tell we got a wheel seat, because it was one of the most painful experiences in my life, and oh my lord, it was really bad. I want to know how bad Grand National wheel seat is now, because Big Dipper wheel seat was so bad. You could just tell it's 100 years old, and I don't know where wheel seats are, so I never really want to do that roller coaster ever again now. Next time I go to Blackpool, we'll just see what I do. Moving on to Thorpe Park now, we've got one roller coaster I did that is really bad, and if I go front row, it probably won't be that bad. But we went second to back, and Colossus, what is that? Sick is way better than Colossus, but Colossus, man. The only good bit was the hardline rolls, I didn't mind them, but everything else was so bad. You get some good airtime on that airtime hill, but it's just, I lost brain damage from that ride. It was so bad, so rough, and I'm 100% going front row next time. And if that's bad, I'm never going on it ever again. Moving on to Chessington now, we've got a clone of Marble Madness, Rattlesnake. Now, people say Rattlesnake is really bad. Marble Madness is worse, because that hasn't got any theming, but Rattlesnake does. So, I wouldn't really say it's the worst, but it's definitely the worst roller coaster at Chessington. And I like the theme. I genuinely like the theme. The Rattlesnake, like, Western Mexico type of theme. It's really good. You get some good head choppers. I really liked it. I didn't really like it, but it was still painful. I didn't enjoy it, but it's better than Marble Madness, I'd say. Now we have PortAventura for 2 roller coasters. Well, technically 3, but starting off with Dragon Khan, I just recommend you, if you can, inside seat, 100%. Outside seats though, so painful, and it's just unbelievably painful. How is the inside seat good and the outside seat is bad? Just, you get a lot of head banging in the outside seats, so if you go to PortAventura, don't go on Dragon Khan on the outside seats. But one that I don't know what seat you have to go to have a good time is Furious Baco. We went near the front, it was bad. We went near the back, it was bad. I have no clue where you go for this ride to have a pleasant experience, because I've heard people say it's one of the best rides there. It's not. It's not. The only good thing about it is that launch. That launch is so good and one of the best launches in the world, but it's just everything after that launch that is just terrible, and it's just unbelievably head-banging. The inversion's pretty smooth, but everything else and that launch is incredible. Everything else on that ride is horrible. But the worst roller coaster at PortAventura has to be Stampida. I think this is most likely the second worst roller coaster I've been on, because, oh my lord, what are you doing, come back? Those trains are so bad. My whatever you call it, under your belly, that bone properly broke. I'm telling you, it didn't actually break, but that bone broke. Like, it was so bad, and I'm never going on that roller coaster ever again. Blue, red, never again. Like, it's so bad. And I'm shaking right now because of how bad it was. Literally, I died on that ride. Comeback, I love because they made the Villinger Hollander, and that is one of the best roller coasters I've ever been on. But the trains on Stampida are so bad, and I've heard the trains on SLCs are bad by them. So I'd never want to do an SLC by them, because that is terrible. Before we head to the worst theme park with the worst roller coaster, I want to just mention some family coasters that are bad. Starting with Great Yarmouth Pleasure Beach's Whirlwind. Now, I did a clone in Twin Lakes, I can't remember it though because I was very young. But Whirlwind is bad because it's just rough art once you do that last turn. I don't know why. SBFV is a spinning coaster. I don't know why it's rough there. And Ferrari Land's Junior Red Force. Now, this is janky, like the most jankiest family coaster I've ever been on. And I've done the cred, so I don't have to do it ever again. Going to the last theme park on this list though, is where the worst roller coaster I've ever been on is in this park. And that is Velocity. Now, I'm joking, but Velocity I actually think is pretty bad. Like, the seats are uncomfortable. I wouldn't say it's rough. I'd easily do it again though, but the seats are really uncomfortable, I think. I just don't really get how people enjoy Velocity without looking at the seats, because I think the seats are very uncomfortable. for a motorbike coaster. That's the only motorbike coaster I've ever done, but I think that's uncomfortable. But the worst roller coaster I've done has to be Hero. Like, you cannot deny it. Why is a Zamperla Valley a replacement for the old Wild Mouse at Flamingo Land? Funny enough, the Wild Mouse is actually Marble Madness, so the Wild Mouse would have still been terrible, but why replace it with something even worse? Literally any enthusiast that has been on this can easily tell this is the worst roller coaster in the UK and one of the worst roller coasters in the whole entire world. Now, the Zamperla Valley is one of the most hated creations in all of mankind, and I never want to ride one ever again. Let's go through some of your comments. Now, I posted a short hoping that a lot of people would comment. Only 2 people did, so just quickly read them out. Hero, yep. Hero, definitely the worst roller coaster in the UK and one of the worst roller coasters in the world. The worst roller coaster for me, and probably the worst roller coaster for you. Rita at Alton Towers, it is so roughed. Also, there's no thrill. It has a 60 miles per hour launch and no inversions. Now, Rita, I would say, is not that bad. I get why people say it's one of the worst roller coasters in the world, but not in the world, in the UK. But the launch, I think, is really good on the front row, and I think the layout's pretty good on the front row, so I wouldn't even say it's one of the worst roller coasters in the UK. Just like the 2 people that replied, I think it's one of the best in the UK. Well, not one of the best, but I don't mind it. Anyways, that's the end of the video today, guys. Like, comment and subscribe for more videos like this, and I'll see you in the next video. Ciao.